Welcome to the Deep Dive. We cut through the noise to bring you, well, truly essential knowledge. Today we're plunging into a concept that, honestly, it feels like it went from sci-fi to everyday life almost overnight. The idea of virtual.
Yeah, it's everywhere now.
Exactly. We're going to unpack what virtual really means, going way beyond just, computers and tech, and explore how it shapes our reality, even inside our own heads. We've got some really fascinating insights to guide us, drawn from Dr. Ramesh Kushwaha's book, Physical Universe, Virtual God, specifically the chapter VirtualInner Universe.
That's right. And this source material, it really draws a sharp line, doesn't it, between the physical world out there and our inner world, the one we actually experience. The core idea we'll be exploring is that this inner universe, it's completely virtual, rooted in the physical brain, but virtual nonetheless.
That's a pretty mind-bending concept to start with.
It really is. It might just shift how you see, well, everything.
It's amazing how fast virtual became just normal language. You think back to early 2020.
Oh, yeah. March 2020.
Suddenly, it was masks, sanitizer, and virtual.
Huh.
It just seemed to explode, didn't it?
It really did. And the source points this out clearly. We all lived it. Kids attending school virtually. Colleges doing the same.
All those Zoom meetings?
Right. Meetings went virtual. Even like complex science experiments, chemistry, physics done virtually. And working from home, for many, that's been the reality for, almost 5 years now? Virtually, of course.
Telemedicine, too. Seeing your doctor on a screen, virtual house tours.
Exactly. Looking at apartments from your couch. It all shifted so quickly.
So things like virtual reality, which felt like pure science fiction maybe 40 years back.
Yeah, pure fantasy then.
Now it's just woven into how we live. I mean, we probably spend more time in the digital world than, I don't know, brushing our teeth.
Probably. Work, socializing, shopping, learning, just chilling out. It's all deeply tied to the virtual now.
And it's not stopping there, is it?
Not at all. The source mentions this ongoing research. Like, the current issue with online shopping is you can't feel things, right? Feel the fabric. But they're working on tech, like haptic gloves, to give you that tactile sensation virtually.
Wow, so an even more immersive virtual future.
Seems like it's definitely on the horizon.
Okay, so we've seen how virtual seeped into our tech, our daily routines. But let's strip away the gadgets. Fundamentally, according to the source, what does virtual actually mean?
Right. So the book defines it as something that's recreated, made using different materials, a different medium than the original. Think of it as a simulation or a representation.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. Even when you look at the original physical object, what your brain perceives, that's also considered virtual because it's represented inside your brain using neurons.
So wait, even the real world is virtual once we perceive it.
In a sense, yeah. The core idea is not physically there in its original form or location. It's a representation. And the source points out this amazing paradox. The virtual world isn't physically real, obviously, but it can make us feel things just as strongly as the real world. It really blurs the lines.
That's powerful. And a bit unsettling, maybe. Like, think about stories. Or movies.
Good example.
You read a novel, words on paper or a screen, whatever, and you're just transported right into a world made of language. And movies, they're basically just fancy illusions on a screen, but we get totally caught up believing we're seeing real events.
Totally.
And cartoon characters are like these virtual puppets. They can do anything, leap oceans, ignore gravity.
Exactly. They completely defy physics.
Because they're virtual.
Precisely. And there's actually a term for this in philosophy and psychology. Multiple realizability. It's this idea that something virtual, like a character or an idea, isn't tied down to one physical form. It can be ink, pixels, just a thought. But it keeps its essence. It shows how flexible virtual things are. They aren't bound by physical limits in the same way.
Okay, that makes sense for stories and characters.
Yeah.
But then the source takes this into areas we think of as really solid, like money.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting.
Financial transactions today. I mean, how often do you actually handle physical cash?
Rarely, for many people.
Money just moves virtually, right? Clicks on a screen.
Debit cards, credit cards. But that was just the start. Now you've got Venmo, Paytm, PayPal, Zelle, all these virtual tools.
Even checks are mostly virtual now.
Yeah, depositing with your phone camera.
It's a world away from, like, the old barter system.
Completely. And then you have things like Bitcoin, purely virtual currencies for online transactions, no banks needed.
Right. The whole system is becoming increasingly virtualized.
And computer simulations are another great example. Flight simulators, you mentioned.
Yeah.
You feel like you're flying a plane, using virtual instruments, getting realistic training. But you never leave the ground. The computer can simulate almost anything, even gravity. But, it only pulls on the simulated objects.
Of course.
And VR, virtual reality, just takes that immersion further with 3D images, electronic circuits, creating a whole perceived space around you.
So if money, movies, simulations, if all that is virtual, does the book suggest our actual moment-to-moment perception of reality is also virtual?
This is really the core of it, the big shift. Yes, our brains, they use neurons as the physical stuff, the medium,
Okay.
to constantly build virtual representations of the world. Our eyes take light patterns and turn them into images on our retinas. Ears turn sound waves into pressure on eardrums. These internal representations are our virtual realities.
When I see, I don't know, a flower in the garden.
Exactly. Your brain isn't just passively soaking up light, it's actively constructing a virtual version of that flower's beauty, its color, its shape, inside your mind using neurons.
Wow. Okay. And all those sensory feelings, the redness of that rose, the smell of perfume, the taste of ice cream, the feel of a cat's fur, the sound of music, these are all virtual phenomena.
Yeah.
They're called qualia.
That's the term, yeah. Qualia. These subjective experiences, the source distinguishes them as secondary qualities. Redness, fluffiness, the sound, the smell, the taste.
As opposed to
Primary qualities, which are more objective, like shapes and sizes. So that feeling of redness you experience, that's your brain generating that sensation. It's internal, personal.
So my red might not be your red.
Exactly. We can agree to call it red. The label is easy to store. Remembering the actual raw experience is much harder, maybe impossible to truly share. It highlights how unique our perceived realities are.
And this virtual representation includes our own bodies.
Absolutely. The source explains our whole body is mapped out virtually in the brain for sensing things, for moving.
So wiggling my fingers.
Yes.
That's like a little movie playing in my brain.
Sort of, yeah. And pain. When you stub your toe, ouch, that pain isn't really in your toe. It's happening in the brain's virtual map of your toe.
Which explains phantom limbs.
Precisely. The phantom limb phenomenon is powerful evidence for this. Experiencing pain in a limb that isn't physically there anymore, it strongly suggests pain is the central nervous system thing. It's generated in the brain, not necessarily at the injury site, the brain's virtual reality engine at work.
Mind blown. Okay, what about time and space? Are those virtual too?
Our perception of them certainly seems to be. Think about how time feels.
Oh, yeah. A boring meeting drags on forever.
But when you're having fun,
Time flies. Gone in an instant. That's virtual time. Our subjective clock.
that's the idea. It's distinct from the objective clock on the wall. And virtual space is similar. You can daydream, right? Be anywhere in your mind, completely lose track of your physical spot.
Which GPS could pinpoint instantly.
Right. Objective location versus subjective experience. So the source says virtual time and space are different from physically measured time and space. But crucially, both are real in their own way. One is virtually subjectively real inside your head. The other is physically objectively real out there. Your brain builds its own internal landscape.
So, okay, these virtual things.
Yeah.
Internal constructions. Do they actually do anything? Do they have real-world effects?
Oh, absolutely. Big time. Think about those virtual financial transactions again.
Right, clicks on a screen.
Have very real financial consequences. Money actually moves, balances change. That's tangible impact.
And movies.
The source uses that example too. How movies make us cry, laugh, get angry. Even though we know it's actors, it's a performance. There's even this anecdote about a famous movie villain in India. The suggestion was he might face real anger if he walked down the street because people reacted so strongly to his virtual actions.
That's incredible. It shows how powerful these virtual constructs are. It reminds me of that question the Indian actor Amitabh Bachchan supposedly asked.
Oh, yeah.
Which was more real? The grief he acted out for his mother in a film, or the actual sorrow he felt when his real mother passed away?
Wow. That really makes you pause.
It does.
And the core idea, according to the book, is we don't really have a choice but to trust our virtual experiences. Our brain is the ultimate creator of our reality. It shapes the world we perceive through our senses. So in a way, the world we know, it really only exists within our minds. It's personalized.
Oh, wait, let's clarify. The food on my plate is physically real, right?
Absolutely. The external object is physically real. But the way your brain interprets and represents that food, its taste, its appeal, based on your mood, hunger, memories. That process is virtual. Your brain takes the physical input and builds its own unique virtual version of reality from it.
Okay. And the source ties this back to physics, saying everything, even energy like heat or light, is ultimately physical.
Right. Measurable, tangible stuff.
So therefore, mental things, our inner world,
Right.
shouldn't be called non-physical, but rather virtual. It's just a different manifestation within a physical system.
Exactly. It's an internal virtual representation happening within the physical brain.
So if our brains are doing all this creating, this virtual reality generation, what are the rules? Do these virtual things behave like physical objects?
Not really, and this is fascinating. The source outlines some key properties. First big one, they do not follow physical laws, like conservation of mass or energy. Nope. Gravity, magnetism, relativity, thermodynamics, quantum mechanics. These rules don't necessarily apply within the virtual simulation.
Give me an example.
Okay, in a Star Wars simulation, you could make a laser travel faster than light, or design planets that ignore gravity, or imagine a virtual digestive system that just digests everything perfectly, no problem. Or a train in a dream that just bends reality. Physics doesn't constrain them internally.
Right, because they're not physically there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Second point, they don't get destroyed like physical things. They just stop existing if the physical medium representing them goes away, like data wiped from a drive or, well, when the brain dies. And third, especially things like virtual assets. They can take any value. Think about stock prices.
Oh, yeah. Wild swings.
Right. Google stock, Berkshire Hathaway.
Right.
The source mentions these huge numbers that can change instantly based on a rumor, a news headline. That's why some people call stocks fake money, right? The value is a kind of collective virtual agreement based on beta streams.
That volatility definitely feels virtual.
Yeah.
And what about how subjective everything feels?
Huge point. The varied perspectives, that's central to the virtual inner world.
Like candy tastes sweeter to one person than another. Music,
Yeah.
relaxing for me, maybe annoying for you.
Stress over the same deadline hits people differently. Even pain.
Right. You mentioned the flu shot example.
Yeah.
Can feel different each time or different between people.
Exactly. It underlines that saying, beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder.
Yeah, my friends who moved to Michigan. First, it was, oh, the snow is so beautiful. And then came shoveling driveways every morning. Suddenly, not so beautiful. Same snow, different subjective virtual experience.
And that subjectivity, the source argues, is because these inner experiences are virtual. They're influenced by our thoughts, beliefs, faith, even just where our attention is.
Like not feeling cold if you're totally focused on something else.
Precisely. Or not noticing a minor pain if you're engrossed in a movie. And this is why science, which needs objective measurement, kind of hits a wall with things like religious faith. Faith is a deeply subjective, internal, virtual experience. Science can't really measure or validate it from the outside.
Okay, so this whole virtualization thing,
Yeah.
the source breaks it down, components.
Yeah, it outlines 3 parts to any virtualization process. First, there's the subject or process being simulated, the story, the character, the sensation, whatever. Second, the physical stuff where the simulation happens. Could be a book, a screen, or, crucially, our neurons. And third, the active agent making it happen. An author writing a story, a person running a simulation, or a living organism's brain creating its internal world.
And there's a key difference between simulations we make and the ones our brain makes for us.
Yes. External simulations made by humans, like a flight simulator or a movie, they're objective. Anyone can look at them, interact with them.
Okay.
But when the agent doing the representing is internal to an organism, think of how a honeybee sees the world, or how a bird senses magnetic fields. That meaning, that subjective reality, is understood only by that organism. It's private. We can't access their internal virtual world directly.
Which brings us back to your way, to the I.
Right. The source introduces this concept of the self, or the ego I. It's positioned as the sort of operator experiencing all these virtual adventures. The I that feels hot or cold, enjoys a smell, feels an emotion.
And this I is?
Also a virtual construct, ultimately, a creation of our brain's neurons doing their complex work. Not some separate little person inside, but a product of the system itself.
Wow, okay. That is quite a journey we've taken into this virtual inner universe. It's genuinely profound to think that so much of our reality, our actual moment-by-moment experience, is this intricate virtual construct built by our brain.
It really is. And just to reiterate, the external world, the objects out there, they are physically real, no question. But our experience of them, that plus so much of our inner landscape, thoughts, feelings, time perception, it's all virtually real. Our brain is just this incredible nonstop virtual reality machine constantly building our personal world from the signals it gets. A unique show, just for you.
So the final thought then.
Yeah.
If our brains are constantly building this subjective virtual reality,
Yeah.
how does knowing that change things for you personally? Does it shift how you interpret your own experiences, how you interact with people who clearly have a different virtual take on things, how you even think about truth? Especially today, with so much information flying around. How does understanding our virtual existence affect how we try to be, well-informed when everyone's perception might be fundamentally subjective?
Yeah.
Definitely leaves you with a lot to chew on.